That's a great question. The question being, what's the significance of the title? I'll answer the first question.
Okay, yes. Or the audience can answer the question too.
Does anybody in the audience know the significance of the title? DAR-HE.
Is that the colloquial speech used in the South? Dar-he-go?
Do you know who does that?
Yeah.
So the uncle, when he points out the killers, or the ones who affected his nephew, he says, DAR-HE, there he goes right there. And it's, of course, there's an argument of linguistics that some people have on whether he said there-he or DAR-HE. And I don't think that's an important point, of course. The important point is that he went out on a giant limb, pointing to the killers in an all-white Mississippi courtroom, knowing that he would have to leave the state that he'd known his entire life the very next day. And he did. He never returned, because he knew that he would be subject to revenge for doing such a thing. I think it might come around.
I saw in the credits where this is adapted from Mike Wiley, the lead for all of the characters. I don't think so. I see that it's adapted from his screenplay. Was he performing this in the area, or how did you form this relationship?
Well, sure. So I've been working with Aravind since 2005. It was about 2008. I just had a neat idea for a short film called Empty Space, and I just needed someone who did one-man shows to play the role of a guy who wakes up, starts rehearsing, and we don't know what he's up to, so we think he might be crazy or who knows what, until you realize at the end he's actually rehearsing for his play. And so Mike was the candidate, and he had this play called DAR-HE, the story of Emmitt Till that he had been performing. And he said, why don't you just go ahead and draw from this? It's a 12-minute short, you can use this, and find what you can use. And then when I read the play, I never known the story. I was completely struck by it, and I wanted to try to capture as best I could in that short. And then when that became very successful, we went on to do Wolf Call, which is the predecessor to this, and then of course DAR-HE was born out of that. So I had a chance to see him perform live, and he had been performing this in particular as a one-man show for a couple years before we met him. We can do some fun facts already.
So the movie, when we started at Empty Space, which was 3 years ago, we didn't know how a person can transform and help you understand that he's a different character. Accents, body language, some wardrobe maybe. But if you're on stage, it's even interesting because the audience bears the creative hand, travels with the judge, with the artist, and they can comprehend or understand what he's trying to do, what characters and all that. And it'll take a second for them to trigger that, and then, oh yeah, it's going to do another person, you know. But once you see all this script, Empty Space, for instance, you can see all these names. I mean, he can do all these parts very easily. And it takes a lot of time and energy to understand whether it can be translated into film to watch in a theater. And will it work? Will the audience believe it? So this experimentation completely started with Empty Space, where we started to do this one-man show of somebody trying to rehearse for a show. And we sent it as an experimental film to film festivals, and we had a phenomenal response all the way from Berlin, all the way to San Francisco, everywhere. And we thought we were onto something. So then we did a 12-minute version again of Wolf Call, which was screened here last year, which is just the entire press with the interview with the Look magazine, which was also featured in this movie. So we did that as a separate piece, and then we sent that out, and then again, phenomenal response. 3 white men played by 1 black person. It's phenomenal response, recognition, awards, and people were able to get it. So we really wanted to, because if we had done this as a feature film like what we did first off, we didn't have the confidence whether it's going to work or not. Mike did not know whether it's going to work or not. We embarked on a completely experimental course. And sure enough, having tried to abstract into a more solid, into a feature, we were able to travel. And then this movie's been phenomenally successful for a year now.
Questions? Yes?
One question that's not really related to the film. Would you happen to know James Settle?
No, I do not.
Sorry.
No, we did. When we embarked on this advantage of meeting a lot of people who were knowledgeable about the Emmett Till trial and about the happenings when he was doing the one-man show. People came out and reached out to him. So, for instance, the historic footage was all donated by Frank Beeman, who's a longtime researcher of the Emmett Till trial. He also donated a lot of documents and things that we hope to use at a future time as we continue to promote the film. But all that historic footage was donated by him, and we just happened to keep the very last reel that a company was going to throw out that was given to him. And he had it for years and years. And when he heard that we needed something like that, he was had it mailed to us immediately, and that became a big part of the puzzle.
You mentioned about the footage, the opening scene. I got a question that's hard. At the beginning, I liked the opening scene. I love the footage, you know, going back then. But I'm prefacing by saying, like back in the 40s with Elizabeth Short, the black guy, I'm sure you remember that story, how her body was found. And when you think about that, that's what you always harken back to. You go back to how her body was found. With Emmett Till, I studied this case up and down. The one thing that I do remember was when the story came out, in Mississippi, it was known, but it wasn't national until they actually showed his body. And, you know, talked about it, a beautiful description. But did it ever cross your mind to think about actually showing, you know, because that's the one thing that I remember that actually brought a lot of attention to the case. So did that ever cross your mind?
Well, it's a great question. We did have the advantage of technically not having any video footage of Emmett, like a close-up. We did not have it, and I think at the time they just didn't record that. They showed live with people going back to the casket. We did play with the idea of using a poster that used the image, since, you know, the mother, that was an important element, was she wanted to make sure everyone saw the face of racism, or what would happen to a beautiful child of hers, or anyone's, in this type of world environment the way it is. It was such a bold move and such an important part of, you know, igniting the whole civil rights movement. Her allowing that picture to be published in a national magazine and then it going international. Like you said, it was really a perfect storm of things coalescing to spark the civil rights movement. And then the mom, of course, continued to tour and harp on it and make it her lifelong cause to bring the story out and continue the story. And that was a huge fueling element as well. And part of the reason why we did the movie is Emmett Till is a story that a lot of people don't know this day and age. I meet a lot of youngsters from wherever they're from, socioeconomic backgrounds, race, and I know very few people personally who knew the story before I started working on it. I grew up in Michigan, and I know no one actually that I told I was going to work on this project knew the story, and that was really important for me to tell it, because we all know the Rosa Parks story. And I think Emmett Till's a little tougher to tell because it's a tragedy, and it's just a terrible tragedy. It's not even it's incomprehensible. And when Mike had this play, the way he portrays it, talks about it, I found that to be a really interesting and powerful way to get into the story. And to go back to the original question, I did feel by the time we were ready to start exhibition of the film that it was going to be way more powerful to leave the imagery in the mind. That's why we had the mom, Mamie Till, describing what happened to her son. First of all, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever seen any footage of Mamie Till, which you can YouTube, Mike Wiley is identical. Cadence, way the words come out, everything. It's really remarkable, the research he did on each and every character. But it's towering and scary and haunting to hear it coming from a mother character, right? If we had seen that imagery, we played with the idea of maybe even just like shadows, like in a shed, you know, we can see the hammer coming down or whatever's happening, maybe some sound effects. We actually did shoot a lot of that, and then we decided there's no way this is going to be as powerful as not showing any of it. And so that's the way we went to tell a more powerful, important story, I think, than spending time dwelling on that. I think as far as imagery goes, that was a huge and important move that Mamie Till did in publishing that photo, and I definitely commend her for that. But we didn't feel that we needed to do that to make this a powerful story.
Now, also, from Frank, we never got any of those footage think with the words itself, it's more powerful with Mike's performance added to drum.
So thank you again, guys, for telling a powerful story. My name is Rod Nelson, for anyone who doesn't know that. Just kidding. Can you talk a little about funding? Where do you find funds for movies like this, or maybe all the movies you have, but more specifically, guys, this movie, how do you fund a production like this one?
Hello, Ron. She's Ron. So the funding came out primarily from, we do a lot of commercial work and all that. We had the story, we know we were onto something. So Mike, Rob, and I were able to find the resources. Rob was able to get every piece of wardrobe for a month. He was traveling with every wardrobe you can think of, every juror you can think of. We had a dozen Coca-Cola bottles for the jurors. So a lot of period accurate props, and we procured them over a period of a long time, finding locations and places, which involves time, energy, and because Rob was running around in his car doing all that, and I have a video service company, so why not use all the equipment and put in all the crew that I can potentially find and fund. So it's primarily funded completely by between Rob, Mike, and I. So, and then the post-production took us longer than we wanted it to be, because a lot of CG elements we were able to work with one flight editor, Larry Gardner, who put a lot of these effects together to make it all work. So, self-funded, we could have said Kickstarter or any of those crowdfunding and waited, and made some little shout about it, but I think an important story with this intensity, which we can really pull it off easily with one actor. See, the casting budget was phenomenally easy for us. The audition, everything was done like in one shot, so that takes care of half your problem. So
Scheduling is easy.
scheduling was very easy. He would call us, hey dude, I have 4 hours on Wednesday night, can you do it? Well, make it happen, and that's all. We shot the whole movie in 12 days. Everything was very well planned to the detail, and Mike knew every part, every line, and with the best performance. The Emmitt Till's dialogue about the very tragic, most traumatic experience he's sharing. It's a 12-minute long single take sequence on a Steadicam. We just shot once. That's all it was. It was so powerful, but we ended up doing some cutaways. But if you see the original footage, it's 12 minutes of him talking through, and then he asked him another one, like, no, I think we got. There are a lot of flaws you can see. There's some focus issues here and there, but it's performance piece. It's you can't get a second take on a great performance and then just let it be. It's part of cinema. We're not trying to hide something and make it perfect in editorial or whatever. So we let some of the artifacts go as intended. So it's a long-winded answer for a simple question of how we find it.
The film was beautifully shot. The screenplay and the language of the screenplay was remarkable. The music was great. But I have to say at the beginning, I was really skeptical about my wife. I'm not sure you get that
Wherever you show the film.
the scene at the railroad station with the mother and the son. I'm getting flashes of Tyler Perry and Medea, and I'm thinking, is this, he's not a very attractive woman of any age, shape, or size. But I have to say that with all the characters, but particularly with the mother, the more you are into the film, the characters transcend Mike Wiley completely. The scene with the mother, as she's describing hearing the news and seeing the body the first time, it was absolutely remarkable. And at that point, you absolutely had me. It was almost like nobody else could have even done that part because it was just so remarkably well done. So.
Yeah, no one except for the actual person, of course, that experienced it. And so he does channel these characters and their experiences so well, partly because of the long time spent researching it, initially performing it, and then spending the time with us to translate that to a personal cinematic experience. There's a couple elements that I'll talk about for that. One being, originally Mike told me when we first was talking about making this a feature that he had envisioned a whole ensemble cast. It was really us that said, well, Wolf Call is you playing 3 Southern white men, and at very least the audience, who really believe in half the audience at every festival, half of them would think, I would say, now, what do you think about Mike playing all 3 of the roles? And at least half the audience would gasp, because they really thought this were 3 different dudes. They had no idea that Mike had sat there like side by side, because he's literally doing a whole, several minute thing here with reactions, everything to himself. He has the timer on so that he's nodding at just the right time. When he's over here, he says something, he has to be reacting over here seamlessly. You can't stop and wait for look at a line or anything. You can't ever break character. And so that was our courage piece to say, okay, Mike, I think that between us, we figured out a formula, first of all, that you can pull off clearly, because we proved it. And also, I believe that Arvind's invented the cinematic style that's going to capture it and draw the person in, because the most important part for me is the capturing the storyteller. This is definitely a storyteller piece. It's something that we all have had experiences sitting around a campfire, being totally enthralled with another person telling us a story. Whether it's a true life story that breaks our heart, or it makes us happy, excited, and laugh, or it scares the crap out of us. We've all had these experiences. We always have these experiences. We're human beings, and we tell stories to each other. Not just watch them on TV or not just watch them on movies, though those have a visceral effect as well. But we also have the capability, I guess far more than all that, to experience the story through someone telling it to us. And so we just created the format, the venue, and the locations, and the props, and the costumes to make that possible. And so that's, in a nutshell, and part of this is 2020 vision, looking back, how it works. Now that we've done it, we're of course experimenting and taking risks by doing it in the first place. We couldn't waste our time if it fell on its head. But I think that it's definitely telling the story in a powerful and interesting way. And if people give it a chance, and if we get past that litmus test of seeing play the woman the first time, that's kind of the point where you're going to make or break the audience. Either, I'm sure at least one person probably left tonight. All right, this is silly, I'm out here. But if you give it a second, and you let that character sink in, okay, I'm just going to give up the fact that he's going to play men, women, kids, whatever, fine, let's see what happens. Once you're committed and you're sold, then I think that it'll take you for that ride and tell you that story.
We thought about makeup, we definitely thought of hair and different, more colorful wardrobe to all these were conversation, clean shave with long hair or wigs. Yeah. So we thought of all these things, and it didn't take much long for us to decide we're just going to not do any of this. We're just going to give a small, because if you see him perform this live in front of the audience, he just has 1 or 2 little elements of props. He jumps from one place to another on the stage. And we kind of embraced that approach, but also every time we sit there and watch, when one of the biggest lines is like, when I'm a little girl, that's a line we really wait and see how people react, and then we know it's going well. Len was also talking about it just earlier with us. He was talking about Time to Kill, the movie, where Matthew McConaughey at the end asks everybody to close their eyes and then indulge in a story. You could definitely try this in this movie. This is if you think of it as a radio show. Because that was a very powerful. The editor comes with, he's been in the film world for a long time. He's been 40 years. He's a pioneer in a lot of motion picture effects and equipment and all that. He was also the editor, Larry Gardner. He was talking us through all these, and then he comes with a radio background. His company was Audiophonics, which became Videophonics, and now it's Digiphonic. So he was able to show us the little aspects of how the audio and his character. So it all goes down to Mike, a convincing presenter who can captivate viewers across. We have Spanish subtitles for this movie, and we're playing it in Mexico. It was in Spain. So it's in Berlin. It was in Berlin. So it across countries, across languages, also the movie is able to transcend and reach the audience in a very significant way.
So I think you guys did a great job of capturing my tag question 2 years about the actor, because he definitely was what made an excellent story. he introduced himself with the microphone, switched on the recorder. I was like, he's saying he's a white man? I don't get it. But then as I saw the characters, I was like, okay, now I understand he's playing all of them. And I thought it might be a little sketchy, but again, he embodied all those characters, the passion, and just presenting each story was beautiful. So my question is, has he personally won any awards? Because I noticed your poster out front has all these different awards that the film has won, but has he, as the actor in the film, won anything personally?
Yes. Since coming out in Empty Space, which is the same subject matter, that was, I'd say, most of the laurels were for Best Actor for that piece in particular. Wolf Call is when we started getting all the Best Film Awards for short film. We got 15 Best Film Awards for that. But at the same time, he was getting Best Actor Awards for that as well. DAR-HE, I don't know how many Best Actor Awards he got, to be honest with you. He gave them all, he's proud of them. You remember Cecil's at first when he hung up, it's reached a point where I've got 4 in my car, he's got 3 in his car, that we still owe him. And we saw him last night, we forgot to give it to him. So, and we do, of course, try to make all the best stuff we can, but not all 3 of us usually can. We've got all crazy schedules. But yeah, he's been honored quite a bit with that. And for instance, just last weekend, we were honored at the Harlem International Film Festival with the Best Actor Award there. And of course, shortly before that, we were doing that film festival, and then you got Best Actor there. So, which is excellent, because to me, it's since it is really, I mean, he gets the chance to shine more than any of us, obviously. So it is an actor's type of role in production and performance. It's like definitely a showcase. They can really show off an actor. And so I think that it's, even if we get to a great festival and that's the one award we're going to get, that also is kind of like a best film award to me, because he's really, that's what he's doing, is we're getting that award because of what we put together as a team. So.
And to add that, talk about awards, they always talk about success also. We were actually learned that we were rejected in the film festival once. It was the Pixie Award, which is meant for computer graphics and animation and visual effects. We were surprised why it was rejected, and then I got onto the chair of the festival committee, and then we found out that they did not realize that it was one person playing 3 roles. That was for the Wolf Call piece. They could not recognize or understand how could one person sit and talk side by side with another person with the same cadence and respond to somebody. We had camera moves. We had, he's talking to him with his hand around his shoulder. And the piece is so well put together that they were not able to find any sort of visual effect. And also this performance is mesmerized the judges to see, like, well, this is 3 black people trying to portray 3 white men in a staged video presentation. That's how they saw it. They could not even comprehend. So after the fact, they recognized, but they never got an award or anything. But they were able to realize, like, the fallacy in their judging system, which for us was phenomenally great success, that actor can convince somebody with the Pixie Award was not able to capture it. So.
Questions? Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming, and I'd like you to go to Facebook, look up DAR-HE movie. You can like the page, you can get updates, and just show your support by liking the page. And we'll review, of course, upcoming screenings and stuff will be on there. We'll be around for a lot of the day. We only took a while, so we have the words party and all that good stuff. So we hope to meet all of you at some point and get a chance to chat.
And if you love the movie, I think most of you did, please don't forget to, the ballots are out there for Audience Choice Awards, so we'd love to get you happening for the movie. Thank you.
You can stop it. They don't have a rule against that, I don't think so.
Well, it's one thing. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.